Yo, JD here, Limitless, and we are back on F1 2019 as always. And we are back again with another world record attempt. And this is probably the best series, my favourite series I've ever actually have done myself. Because as I said, it helps me get a lot better at the game. It actually pushes myself to the maximum I can do. And today, as you can see, we are doing Japan in the Ferrari F2004, and it's been highly requested. I've been very much looking forward to this one because I know how the car feels now. I've done it on a few attempts so far. I think I've had a world record pretty much every single time I've done it at the time, and as always, going out with the default setup just to get a feeling of the car again, because the last one I did was at France in the modern cars, so the Mercedes. That was a pretty good one, so make sure you check it out. And I'm actually going to make a playlist of all the world record attempt videos in a playlist, which I've actually put down in the description below. But yes, in this, when you go in default setup in this car compared to the modern ones, there is such a big difference. And you can see slightly out wide, and it gives me that inevitable invalidation, which I think I have every single first lap I do whenever I do these attempts. But yeah, very, very harsh on the exit of turn 1, you could say, going through there. But yeah, going back to what I was talking about with the setup, the default setup in this car is truly horrendous. It's in the modern cars, I'd say sometimes you can get almost within a second of the world record purely on default. Default is not a bad shout, really, to be honest, in the Mercedes or just equal cars or anything at all. It's not bad at all. But in the classic cars, it's about 2 seconds, about a second and a half, definitely I feel over 2 seconds around most tracks. So and the car right now just feels so understeery. It feels like a cargo ship trying to turn a 90-degree corner at the moment. It is just so understeery. Good stability though, but just so understeery, and yeah, it takes ages to stop and stuff as well. So these laps are really just me to just get used to the braking points, just how the car feels, because this car, I think I mentioned in Austria, is just so sensitive. I describe it as a car that doesn't let you overdrive it. If you overdrive this car, if you turn too much and get too trigger or pedal happy with the throttle or brake, it's going to just spit you out. And you can see here, that's me just starting a lap and carrying too much speed, and the back end just washes away from you. You have to be so precise with this machine. It's just it's really fun, it's really challenging, and that's why this is probably my favorite car on the game itself. It just requires so much precision, so much patience as well. And I didn't mention it in France, and someone said to me, you need to get a muscle memory down with this car. 100%. But initially going into this, as I said, I was very, very confident. The world record that you saw was a 26.5, which is actually faster than the modern cars around here. So it shows how much speed this car really does have. And yeah, it's just, I was struggling a little bit with this, but of course this is on just a stock setup, so no setup added at all. But I was hoping really if I could get within about 2 seconds of the world record or something, then that would be extremely good. Because I remember at Silverstone, when I first started doing this, it was about two and a bit seconds with a pretty good default setup lap, and then I ended up beating it by about 2 seconds. So it's amazing how much time you can gain just with the pure downforce that you can get with this car. And going into Spoon here, really do enjoy this corner. But the car itself, as I've always said, it feels like it has has built-in traction, as someone mentioned to me before, but it just feels like right at the end of the rev range, that's when you can lose the car. So initially when you go on the throttle, you can attack it very early, but it's right before you switch gears to another gear, that's when you really have to be fighting to keep the car from spinning out or anything at all. And this lap here, we've managed to set a valid lap of a 28.6, so I never really move on to bolting on the setup until I do a legit default setup lap, so not invalidated or anything at all. It makes me just feel a lot better knowing that I can actually go around the track without going off it, and that has put me 104th on the leaderboard. So now we're just going to put on Ultimate Feral, who's actually number 1 here, and I've noticed quite a few people have started doing these as well. And Tiro Button's actually been on recently, who's an absolute beast in this car. So I know the times that they've done are actually pretty good times, like really, really good times actually, and it should be, because it's actually faster than the modern cars. So a little more work was actually going to be cut out here. A few people are starting to sweat it now, and yeah, feel free to do that, because it makes it even more challenging and even more exciting for me to do it itself. So just keeps on pushing me. So going into this is my first lap with a setup, and as always, it always just takes a good few laps to get used to it, and you just have to keep going, you have to persevere, because setups don't always suit you at all. This setup might not suit me whatsoever, and right now you can see, look how much time we are gaining. We are gaining 4 temps, 5 temps, and that was, watching that was a pretty scruffy first sector. I was taking it pretty easy at this stage. I was just trying to have a field car. The car is a lot more responsive, but it's a lot more loose on the rear end now. This corner, one of the hardest corners. I think that is the hardest corner on this track as I was doing this, because if you just, it's like Austria turn 3 at the top of the hill. If you carry too much speed into a tight corner in this car, it just says nope, not interested, and the back end just wants to completely wash away from you. And this is pretty difficult, and you can see at the end of the road range there, just before I was going up into that 5th gear or something, it really wants to just snap out of your hand. So you really have to hold firm with this, be patient, get on the throttle nice and early, but you just have to fully commit. And on the brakes here, this is a difficult one as well. You can see the car is just wanting to over rotate if you just carry too much speed. But if you don't carry enough speed in this car, as we do a 27.0, so that's pretty promising. That's only half a second down, and you can see we were losing quite a bit of time in that first sector and going out wide here, but we're going to continue again. As I said, you really need to start just building a rhythm, even if you invalidate it in a way that you know that you didn't feel you gained any time by doing so. Obviously, if you just complete straight line, then you might as well just restart. But if you invalidate it knowing that it didn't really gain you anything, you actually probably lost a little bit of time, then I would always say just continue, just to get that rhythm down. And you can see about almost a 10th up, just under a 10th now. Going into this one here, the hairpin, you don't want to over rotate. It's so tricky to do. I found doing that corner, which you'll see towards the end, attacking the apex early, like you do in the modern cars as well. Attacking it early, the cab of the corner actually drags you round without the back end sliding out. So that's a tip that I would say for that corner, and you'll be able to see that as we continue to progress. And this is what it's all about, just showing my progression. And you'll probably see multiple laps in a row here. I think I'm going to stay on board for like 3 or 4 laps, just so you can see how I'm improving. That would have been an invalidation, but it just shows myself by just completing this lap here. Although I haven't gone faster, it's given me a feeling of where I can make up time. I knew I was about almost a 10th up going through the middle sector, and I knew my first sector and the last sector weren't good at all. So the next lap now, I just know what the feelings are. And we missed that apex again, but we're still, look at the time though, we're still 2 temps up, and this is a very scruffy first sector as well. Short shifted into 4th gear just to minimise the wheel spin, trying to go flat out as you dare. About a 10th up going through this first sector again. It's actually valid on this lap so far. Braking and turning in as the curb ends on the left hand side. Going back into 6th gear, braking in a straight line, and that was turning a little bit too late on that occasion. But you can see quite a bit up, and exactly because I did that before, I knew where I went wrong on some corners, and you can't expect yourself to nail it straight away. But time over time, I kind of dissect it. I kind of think, okay, in this corner, next lap, I'm going to get a little bit better. And then once I've mastered that, then I focus on another corner, and then keep on going, and eventually you build up the full package. But so far, this is actually a valid lap. Let's see what I can do into slash chicane. Very, very difficult. Don't want to be going too quickly as we do. That is just too quick. And yeah, you can see if you just go carry too much speed through there, this car is extremely unforgiving. But once again, we are just going to continue. You have to build that rhythm, and it just requires so much patience, particularly in this car, because sometimes you feel you can't go much quicker. But you can see just through there, we got the left part right, but we didn't get the right part correct this time. And you can see well over a tenth up, short shifting again, trying to stay nice and tight, going flat out, not going out as wide this time. And you can see, look how much time we've just gained by just making that slight difference. And again, try not to run on the outside curb too much into here. And 2 tenths up now. Let's see if we can get a better exit off this hairpin. That was earlier. That's how you want to do it, just a little bit more. And you can see gaining time on the exit whilst doing so. Try and stay tight to the right hand side and minimise the distance off the track. Going to spoon at the 50 metre ball. That's when you want to be braking and turning in. Throwing it in 5th gear, then 4th gear. You need to stay tight to left hand side. Do not let it wash out on the exit. And look at the brake bias. It's 55. I've actually put it to 57. And the reason why I've done that is because on the last lap going to chicane, my back end was stepping out. And if you actually raise the front brake bias, it actually stops you from, for me, just over rotating when you're actually braking. And look at how much time we have gained by just doing that. And it's a 26.6, almost a world record. So I was feeling really good at this point. And let's see where I'm a leader. Well, that's actually put me P3 in the leaderboard, less than a tenth off the world record, and that's a setup I'm actually using. But I do decide to actually change it, I believe. I felt the rear was just over rotating, so I put it down to 10, and that will actually give me slightly better traction as well. And I put the front tyre pressure up, which actually increases the straight line speed and the front rotation. So as always, when I'm changing something on the setup, I try and change something and then try and balance it out with something else, if that makes sense. But yeah, with the front brake bias, putting up to 57, I leave it in 55 in this because when I'm braking, I want the car to change direction quickly. And because the higher you go, the quicker it will stop, the more prone you are to locking up, but the rear won't be stepping out. Whereas if you have it lower, like going through here, if you dabbed on the brake, it would change direction a lot easier. A lot less prone to locking up, but the rear would lock very easily, and just the rear end would just wash away. So hopefully that makes sense to you, and that's the reason why I changed it into that chicane, because if I left it on 55, the back end would probably just want to be stepping out all the time, completely all the time. So yeah, 57 just makes it a lot more stable for me and enables me to carry a much more speed going through into that. But you can see on this lap, 2 attempts up here and really being aggressive, try and stay tight, as I said, but that is not perfect. That is washing out, and you can see at the end of the rev range, that's where the car is stepping out, and you'll be able to see, look at the brake bias, 55 to 57 going to chicane, and I did this every single lap, and then put it back down to 55 going into turn 1. So go through here, let's see if the car's stable. Pretty stable this time. You have to turn early, but we actually get an invalidation, but that's okay. At least I know what I could achieve, and that would have been a 26.4. So I knew there was a lot of potential into this, but the longer you play, I feel in a time trial, for me anyway, the more frustrated you get and the more prone you are to making more mistakes. And that was what was starting to happen. I was actually starting to overdrive the car a little bit because I felt there was just so much more time in the tank, because I did the 26.6 pretty quickly. That was in like the first 15 minutes or something like that, pretty quickly. And yeah, I just felt there was so much more potential, but this car just doesn't allow you to overdrive it in the slightest. If you do that, it will just completely punish you. But this first sector is a very nice first sector, short shifting again, turning just before that patch, which I mentioned in a different video. So pretty similar braking points and turning points to the modern cars. After 100 meter ball, that's when you want to turn in. Got that absolutely perfect. Trying to avoid that curb on the inside and on the exit. And you can see 2 attempts up going into here. Braking in a straight line. Turning early, but could have been a little bit earlier, but still getting a pretty good exit. And we're about almost 3 attempts up here. So this is going to absolutely smash the world record at this point. 50 meter ball, turning in, got that very nicely, kissing the curb and then staying tight. That is how you need to do it. But the car almost, you can see, that's what I mean, the car just wants to rip out of your hands, and we've lost about almost half a tenth in doing so. going up on the brake bias just before 130R, just to get that stability for the last chicane, braking about the 100-meter board, 4th gear, and then 3rd gear for left-hander, again, just trying to keep the rear end on track and stable, and going across the line. This is going to be a 26.3, and that is comfortably the world record. And you might say, well, that's enough, that's your objective complete, but I wasn't happy with that. I felt, as I just mentioned, I felt there was so much more time in the tank, and you can see I just kept on going. I give myself an hour max to do this, and yeah, I just felt that wasn't good enough. I felt I was feeling really good on this day. This was actually directly after my league race I did at Mexico and TSRL, which did not go too well at all through being pretty unlucky in qualifying. You can see we've done a 26.2 now, so I was quite determined to get back on the horse, as they say, and yeah, pump in a really good performance. And yeah, I'm smashing it at this point, and that is a 26.2 now, but still, I still was not happy with that. That is over 3/10 over the world record, but the longer you go, the more frustrated you get, and I was going for the perfect lap. I was going for the absolute 100% perfect lap. I did not want to stop until I really got something pretty close to that. That's really what I wanted to do. And you can see just having a poor exit. Well, actually, we got a decent exit. We had a poor entry, but getting a nice exit come off here. And we're actually going green before 130R, going through the split at a 1:10.0. That is insane going through there. Changing the brake bias and going into here. Let's see what I can do. But if you still, although changing that brake bias, it still won't save you. If you don't respect this car, it's just going to throw you out completely. And I just kept on being up, going into this last chicane, but it's such a tricky chicane. It's probably the second toughest corner on this track, other than the left-hander. And you can see that would have been a 26.1, but I knew I could do it. I felt I could do it. I felt it was within me, and you can see almost 3/10 clear on top of the world record leaderboard against the likes of people like Tyrrell Bussing. I said he was an absolute beast in this car. So although this will, no doubt people will probably sweat this, and whatever I do will try and beat that and stuff as well, but we can see we're slowly improving now, a 26.2, but again, I still was not happy with it. And going into here quite a bit up on the green, that's what I mean, I wasn't tight on the exit there, and you can see we're just losing time. You need to stay tight on that left-hander, otherwise if it washes out, you're just extending the distance of the track, and the car just doesn't like it at all. But so I decided to just throw everything I could going to Sar chicane, but it's not that strict in track limits, but obviously there is a limit that you can't pass, and going across the line is another 26.1. So I kept on getting 26.1s. And as I said in my other videos as well, once you hit those limits, once you hit a lap time, you'll find yourself continuously actually hitting that lap time, and yeah, starting to get nearish 60 minutes now. So that's kind of the point where, this is probably a time you want to be really taking a break and then coming back to it at a later date. But I didn't feel I did justice, but you could see how much time I gained in that left-hander, and that's exactly what I was talking about before. If you turn early into that corner, you will just gain so much time. It's unbelievable. Just a small detail changes and you just gain an unbelievable amount of time in itself. So, but yeah, I was just really determined to try and put a good lap on the board, and this lap is going pretty good so far. This is a pretty nice one. So 0.5 up, going to here, turning a little bit too late. I love this corner, probably my favourite corner on the track, and getting a very nice exit and going to here again. Let's see how much time I can make up. So going to here, do I turn early? Yes, that is early, but don't get a insane exit, but we are a 10.5 up, if I can read that correctly. A 10.5 up, just under 2/10 up. Going to here, turning a little bit too late, but needing to stay tight. That was better than before, but still not perfect. But we are still over a 10th up, going in to 130 yard, changing the brake bias just before I go into this corner, as I do every single lap, as I do there, mid-corner actually, braking at the 100-meter board, and you have no idea how frustrating that was, but I still had some time on the clock. I'm gonna go for one more, and now this was a extremely good lap, a very nice lap, as I always say. And starting the lap here, let's go through it. So staying, well, I go down to 53 and then go back up to 55, going into the corner itself, taking a wide line and then kissing the apex late in third gear, really being determined on the throttle, trying to go flat out into fourth gear just to get a little bit more rotation, keeping it in fourth gear, going through here as well, throwing it in, downshift to third just to get that little extra bite. Middle of a track, that's when I'm turning, not super tight through there, so that wasn't the best I did, but still enough to be purple in this first sector. 31 to first sector, turning in as the curve finishes on the left hand side, accelerating in a straight line, and now this is the corner we can gain a lot of time, going into sixth gear, braking in a straight line, but turning early, almost kissing the curb, staying in second gear. First gear would just over rotate the car, and you can see getting a very nice exit, just under a tenth up on a 26.2. 50-meter board, braking, turning in, actually turning in a little bit too late, but running on that curb actually helps you set you up for left-hander, but just being very committed, very aggressive through here, losing some time on the exit, but we are still just over half a tenth up, going through this middle sector split at 1 minute 9.9, putting the brake bias to 57, now being really committed through here. I knew I could gain some time, pretty much nailing this as well. Third gear, 100% committed on the fault, hitting that horrible bump, going across the line. It's a 26.115, and that was enough for me. Looking at the leaderboard, over 4 tenths clear of anyone else, and you can see my setup here. I think that is 3-8, 50-70, right, left, 1-3 just for the rotation, and 5-10 I feel that gives a really good balance, and 1-4 will give you a lot of rotation, but the rear end will be stable, and lower rear tire pressure, again for traction stability, and 11 ballast. I still feel there is still some time in that as well, and no doubt someone else on a different platform will of course beat that, no question about that at all. I even think there's a 25 possible, but I still a very nice attempt and a very special attempt. I love Suzuka, and especially that track combo is absolutely awesome. I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope you're entertained by this. Thank you so much for supporting me. It's just been truly insane. Hope you have a great week, and I will catch you very soon. Peace.